The massive view screen aboard the Varaxian flagship Eternal Dawn displayed Earth in perfect clarity, a jewel of blue and white suspended in the void. High Admiral Kelzer stood motionless, his iridescent scales reflecting the soft light of the bridge as he studied the planet below. After centuries of expansion across the galaxy, the Varaxian Empire had finally discovered another spacefaring civilization on the edge of explored space. Fascinating, he muttered, multiple sets of eyes blinking in sequence. They've managed to colonize their moon and establish orbital habitats, yet they haven't expanded beyond their solar system. His second-in-command, Commander Vix, stepped forward. Our long-range scans indicate they're on the cusp of developing viable faster-than-light travel, High Admiral. Their energy signatures suggest significant technological advancement, despite their limited reach. Kelzer nodded slowly. The Varaxians had learned through bitter experience that appearances could be deceiving. Their own rise to prominence had taught them that lesson well. Begin first contact protocols. Let's show these humans that we come in peace. As the diplomatic signals were broadcast toward Earth, Kelzer reflected on the reports he'd studied. Humanity had achieved in centuries what had taken other species millennia. Their rapid technological growth was unprecedented, their adaptability remarkable. Some members of the Imperial Council had advocated for immediate military action to contain this potential threat, but Kelzer had argued for diplomacy. The response from Earth came swiftly, far more quickly than expected. The humans not only decoded their transmission perfectly but replied in flawless Varaxian. The bridge crew exchanged surprised looks. They had broken down our language from a single transmission. Vix whispered, "Impossible." The human delegation requested a meeting aboard their orbital station designated Unity. As Kelzer's shuttle approached the massive structure, he couldn't help but admire its elegant design. What the humans lacked in territorial expansion, they made up for in engineering precision. The reception party awaiting them was led by Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's chief diplomatic officer. She stood confidently, flanked by a diverse group of human representatives. "Welcome to Unity Station, High Admiral Kelzer. We've prepared quarters according to Varaxian environmental preferences." Kelzer's surprise must have shown on his face, because Dr. Chen smiled. "We've had time to study your biology from your approach vectors. Your ship's drive signatures gave us quite a bit of data to work with." In the meetings that followed, Kelzer found himself increasingly impressed and concerned. The humans were far more advanced than initial scans had suggested. Their questions were precise, their insights keen. They seemed particularly interested in Varaxian shield technology and faster-than-light drive systems. But it was Commander Rax, newly assigned to Kelzer's fleet, who shattered the diplomatic atmosphere. During a tour of Unity's research facilities, he noticed something that set his military instincts blazing. "These energy readings," he interrupted Dr. Chen's presentation. "They're consistent with quantum tunneling weapons research." The room fell silent. Dr. Chen's expression didn't change, but her voice carried a new edge. "We maintain various research programs for defensive purposes only, Commander." Surely the Varaxian Empire understands the need for self-protection. "Defensive," Rax scoffed. "We've seen these signatures before, during the Centaurian War. They're weapons of mass destruction." "Commander," Kelzer warned, but Rax pressed on. "High Admiral, we cannot allow them to develop these weapons. The Council was right. They're too dangerous to be left unchecked." Dr. Chen's smile had vanished entirely. "I would remind you, Commander, that you are guests here. We have neither threatened you nor displayed any hostile intent. Your very existence is a threat," Rax snarled. "A species that advances this quickly cannot be trusted with such power." Before Kelzer could reprimand his subordinate, Rax had already stormed out of the room. The damage was done. The atmosphere of cooperative diplomacy evaporated instantly. "I apologize for Commander Rax's behavior," Kelzer began, but Dr. Chen raised a hand. "No need, High Admiral. His honesty is actually refreshing. It seems there are those in your empire who view our progress as a threat rather than an opportunity for collaboration. The remaining meetings were cordial but cooler. When Kelzer returned to the Eternal Dawn, he found Rax had already transmitted his concerns to the Imperial Council. The response was immediate and clear. Cease diplomatic contact and prepare containment protocols. This is a mistake, Kelzer argued during the emergency conference. The humans have shown no aggression. Their technological advancement could benefit the entire galaxy. But the Council was unmoved. Fear of humanity's rapid progress outweighed potential benefits of alliance. As Kelzer resigned himself to his new orders, proximity alarms blared across the bridge. Multiple ships decloaking. Vix shouted. It's the Crimson Talon battle group, Commander Rax's personal fleet. Kelzer watched in horror as dozens of Viraxian warships dropped their stealth fields and moved to attack positions around Earth. Rax had taken matters into his own hands, clearly believing that a swift show of force would cow humanity into submission. All channels, this is Commander Rax. The transmission crackled across space. Under authority granted by Imperial Security Directive 147, I am taking command of this operation. Earth represents a clear and present danger to galactic stability. Prepare for immediate military action. As Kelzer frantically tried to countermand these orders, the first shots were fired. Rax's ships launched a barrage of plasma torpedoes at Unity Station, expecting to destroy humanity's orbital command center in a single strike. What happened next would change the galaxy forever. The torpedoes never reached their target. They simply vanished. Then Unity Station shimmered and seemed to transform, its peaceful exterior falling away to reveal weapon emplacements and shield generators far more advanced than anything the Viraxians possessed. Dr. Chen's voice came across all frequencies, calm but resolute. Commander Rax, you've made a terrible mistake. We hoped for peace, prepared for war. Now you'll understand why humanity has chosen to stay within our solar system. Not because we couldn't leave, but because we chose to perfect our defenses first. As alerts blared across the Viraxian fleet, thousands of small craft emerged from hidden bays across Earth's orbital infrastructure. The humans had been ready all along. First contact had failed, and the galaxy was about to learn exactly why humanity's measured approach to expansion had been so deliberate. The real question was, would anyone survive long enough to learn from this mistake? Commander Rax's face contorted in disbelief as his tactical display erupted with new signatures. What had appeared to be simple civilian satellites and debris around Earth transformed into a complex web of defensive platforms. The humans had masked their military capabilities behind a facade of peaceful development. Impossible, he hissed, watching as his initial strike disappeared into what analysts would later call quantum sync fields. All ships, commence full assault pattern. Show these primitives the might of the Viraxian Empire. But High Admiral Kelzer, watching from the Eternal Dawn, saw what Rax's rage had blinded him to. The humans weren't just defending. They were executing a carefully choreographed battle plan. Their ships moved with unprecedented coordination, using maneuvers that defied conventional space combat doctrine. In the command center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Maya Rodriguez watched the battle unfold through quantum-entangled displays. Decades of preparation were finally being put to the test. Execute Operation Shadownet, she commanded. Let's show our visitors why we spent 50 years developing stealth technology instead of colonial ships. Across Earth's orbital space, human vessels seemed to flicker in and out of existence. The Viraxian targeting systems, designed to track ships through conventional space, struggled to maintain locks on vessels that appeared to exist in multiple places simultaneously. What sorcery is this? Rax demanded as another volley of his weapons missed their marks. Their ships can't possibly move that fast. But they weren't moving at all. At least not in the way the Viraxians understood movement. Earth's quantum physicists had cracked the code of probability manipulation years ago. Their ships weren't dodging. They were shifting through parallel probability states, becoming virtually untargetable. High Admiral Kelzar watched in growing horror as Rax's fleet, despite its superior numbers and firepower, found itself being systematically dismantled. Human vessels, smaller but infinitely more maneuverable, struck from impossible angles. Their weapons weren't particularly powerful by Varaxian standards, but they didn't need to be. They hit with surgical precision, targeting shield generators and weapon systems with uncanny accuracy. High Admiral, Vix reported, her voice tight with tension. We're detecting massive energy buildups from Earth's lunar installations. Before Kelzar could respond, the surface of the moon seemed to ripple. Hidden doors in the lunar surface arised open, revealing massive cannon emplacements. The humans hadn't just built a colony on their moon. They'd transformed it into a fortress. In his command ship, Rax finally realized the magnitude of his error. All ships, evasive action. Prepare for emergency jump. The lunar cannons fired. But instead of conventional energy beams or projectiles, they released waves of coherent quantum disruption. Where these waves touched Varaxian ships, probability itself seemed to unravel. Vessels didn't explode. They simply ceased to exist in their current configuration, their atomic structures randomly redistributing across space. This is Admiral Sarah Chen to all Varaxian forces. The transmission cut across all frequencies. What you're witnessing is merely our first line of defense. We possess capabilities your sensors cannot detect and your computers cannot comprehend. Stand down, or we will be forced to demonstrate why Earth chose isolation not out of weakness, but necessity. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, General Rodriguez received urgent communications from the Quantum Computing Division. The AI systems that helped coordinate Earth's defenses had calculated that the Varaxians were about to make another critical mistake. New contacts. Vix shouted aboard the Eternal Dawn. Varaxian reinforcements dropping out of FTL. 3 more battle groups emerged from faster-than-light travel, responding to Rax's distress calls. Their commanders, seeing their comrades under attack, prepared to join the battle without fully assessing the situation. General Rodriguez smiled grimly. They never bothered to ask why we hadn't expanded beyond our solar system. Activate the Helios Protocol. Around the Sun, massive structures that had been disguised as research stations revealed their true nature. The humans hadn't just fortified Earth and the Moon. They'd turned their entire solar system into an interconnected defense grid. Solar energy, collected and concentrated through quantum acceleration, lanced out across space. The human vessels, anticipating this, had already shifted to safe probability states. The Varaxian reinforcements had no such protection. The battle that followed would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come. It wasn't just the technology that made humanity's defense so effective. It was their strategy. Every move had been planned, every contingency accounted for. They had spent generations preparing not just weapons, but tactics that no spacefaring race had ever conceived. As the last Varaxian ships either retreated or succumbed to Earth's defenses, High Admiral Kelzar made a decision that would alter the course of galactic history. Instead of fleeing, he opened a channel to Earth's command. General Rodriguez, Admiral Chen, I request permission to approach under a flag of truce. There are things about the galaxy you need to know, and after what I've witnessed today, there are clearly things about humanity that we have catastrophically misunderstood. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, General Rodriguez exchanged looks with Admiral Chen's hologram. The real war hadn't even begun yet. What they'd just demonstrated was merely their defensive capability, and based on Kelzar's tone, they were about to learn why they might need every bit of their offensive capabilities very soon. The galaxy was about to change, and humanity's isolation was about to end. But on their terms, not anyone else's. Would you like me to continue with Part 3? Operation Thunderstrike. This next section will reveal humanity's offensive capabilities and the larger galactic conflict that's about to unfold. The holographic display in Earth's unified command center showed the galaxy in perfect detail, with thousands of points of light representing known alien civilizations. High Admiral Kelzer stood before Earth's military leadership, his scales dulled with exhaustion after hours of briefing. "The Varaxian Empire isn't your true enemy," he explained, gesturing to a dark region of space. "We're all being hunted. The Nexus Collective lies dormant in the galactic core, awakening every few millennia to harvest advanced civilizations. Our interference with Earth wasn't purely out of fear. We hoped to control your development before you attracted their attention." General Rodriguez and Admiral Chen exchanged knowing looks. "We've known about the Collective for decades," Chen revealed, causing Kelzar's secondary eyes to widen in shock. "Our quantum probability scanners detected their sleeper agents across multiple systems. Why do you think we developed our stealth technology to such extremes?" In the weeks following the failed Varaxian assault, Earth's military strategists worked alongside Kelzar to develop a bold plan. The Collective had already begun stirring, their automated probes spreading through the galaxy like a virus. Humanity's quantum technology represented the first real chance to strike back before the harvest began. "Operation Thunderstrike is a go," General Rodriguez announced to the assembled fleet commanders. "Our window of opportunity is narrow. The Collective's hibernation cycle ends in 30 days. We strike in 10. Earth's orbital shipyards, hidden in quantum pocket dimensions, revealed their true scale. Alongside the defensive platforms that had repelled the Varaxian attack, massive assault carriers took shape. Each vessel incorporated technology that had been refined through decades of preparation. The human fleet gathered at the edge of the solar system, their ships unlike anything Kelzar had ever seen. Where Varaxian vessels relied on brute force and overwhelming firepower, human ships were elegant, almost organic in their design. Their quantum-shifted hulls seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously, making them nearly impossible to track. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the flagship Humanity's Hope, watching as the combined human-Varaxian fleet prepared for humanity's first major offensive beyond their solar system. "All ships, initiate quantum sync. Prepare for coordinated probability shift." The fleet vanished, not through conventional faster-than-light travel, but through what humans had termed bulk probability translocation. They didn't move through space. They altered the probability of their existence across multiple points in space-time until they simply existed where they needed to be. The Collective's forward base in the Carina Nebula never saw them coming. Human ships materialized inside their defensive perimeter, their quantum weapons already firing. The Collective's automated defenses, designed to counter conventional attacks, proved useless against weapons that altered the fundamental nature of reality. "Multiple Collective signatures detected," reported Captain Sarah Wong aboard the Humanity's Hope. "Their hibernation pods are initiating emergency protocols." "Not this time," Admiral Chen commanded. "Execute Pattern Omega." Humanity's most closely guarded secret wasn't their defensive technology or even their quantum weapons. It was their mastery of temporal mechanics. As the Collective's ancient warriors began to awaken, human chronometric devices activated, creating localized temporal stasis fields. The harvesters would remain frozen between moments, trapped in their own awakening. The Varaxian crews watched in awe as human strike teams, wearing powered armor that bent probability around them, boarded the Collective's massive structures. These weren't just soldiers. They were probability warriors, existing in multiple combat states simultaneously, impossible to predict or counter. "By the eternal stars," Kelzar whispered, watching the assault unfold. "Your species wasn't hiding in fear. You were preparing for this moment all along." General Rodriguez's voice came through the quantum-entangled comm system. "We discovered the Collective's probe signals 300 years ago. Every technological advancement, every tactical doctrine we developed, was aimed at this exact scenario. Humanity united not for expansion, but for survival." The battle that followed would reshape galactic understanding of warfare. Human quantum techniques didn't just defeat the Collective's automated defenses, they rewrote the very nature of what was possible in combat. Ships phased through solid matter, Weapons fire existed in superpositions of multiple attack vectors, and human soldiers appeared to be everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. But the collective had not survived for millions of years without contingencies. As their forward base fell, ancient signals propagated across the galaxy. The sleeping giants were awakening ahead of schedule, and humanity's primary advantage, surprise, was about to evaporate. Admiral Chen received the quantum analysis with grim determination. The collective is initiating full emergency protocols. All hibernation pods across the galaxy are activating simultaneously. Then we stick to the plan, General Rodriguez responded. Operation Thunderstrike wasn't just about this battle. It was about proving our theories correct. Now we know our technology works against them. As the human fleet regrouped, preparing for what would become the largest conflict in galactic history, Kelzer finally understood. Humanity hadn't been trapped in their solar system. They had been lying in wait, preparing for a war that most species didn't even know was coming. The real question was, would their preparations be enough against the full might of an awakened collective? The next phase of the operation would answer that question, one way or another. The galaxy was about to witness what happened when humanity's full military potential was unleashed, not just in defense of Earth, but in defense of all living species. The true thunder was about to roll across the stars. Would you like me to continue with Part 4, The Alliance Gambit? This next section will explore how humanity's actions reshaped galactic politics and forge unexpected alliances in the face of the collective threat. The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Concordat had never been so crowded. Representatives from 100 spacefaring civilizations gathered in the ancient hall, their attention fixed on the holographic display showing the destruction of the collective's forward base. The human quantum warrior's assault played out in perfect detail, a deliberate demonstration of power that sent shockwaves through the assembled diplomats. Ambassador Elena Martinez stood calmly at the center of the storm. The Nexus Collective isn't just the Viraxians' enemy or humanity's enemy. They're coming for all of us. We've struck the first blow, but we need to stand together if we want to survive what comes next. The chamber erupted in chaos. The Meridian Consortium's crystalline delegates vibrated with agitation, their harmonic speech filled with fear. The bioorganic Zen Collective pulsed rapid color patterns of disbelief and anxiety. Even the usually stoic archivists of Deneb showed signs of distress. You expect us to believe, rumbled Grand Archon Vex of the Hegemony, that your isolated species has developed weapons capable of defeating an enemy that has culled this galaxy for millions of years. We don't expect you to believe, Elena replied, nodding to her technical team. We expect you to observe. The holographic display shifted, showing quantum-entangled feeds from across the galaxy. The collective's awakening had begun, their massive hibernation structures activating in system after system. But wherever they stirred, human strike teams were already waiting. In the Orion Spur, the experimental carrier Einstein's Gambit led a fleet of probability-shifted vessels against a collective hive node. In the Perseus Arm, quantum commandos disabled harvest ships before they could fully activate. Near the galactic core itself, human chronometric weapons trapped entire collective fleets in temporal stasis. Impossible, whispered the Zen Prime Consciousness. Your ships would need to be everywhere at once to achieve this. Not everywhere, Elena corrected. Just everywhere that matters. Quantum probability manipulation isn't just a weapon. It's a strategic multiplication force. We've had centuries to seed our assets throughout the galaxy, waiting for this moment. High Admiral Kelzer stepped forward, his presence causing a stir among the Viraxian delegation. I've witnessed their capabilities firsthand. My empire's attempt to contain humanity was based on fear and ignorance. Now we understand. They weren't contained. They were preparing. But the collective wasn't defeated. For every hibernation ship the humans disabled, 2 more awakened. The ancient harvesters had contingencies within contingencies, built up over millions of years of evolution and adaptation. We've bloodied their nose, Admiral Chen's quantum-projected image reported to the Council. But we can't be everywhere at once, even with our technology. We need help. Elena looked out over the assembled representatives. We're offering full sharing of our quantum defense technologies, not our offensive capabilities. We're not fools, but enough to give your civilizations a fighting chance. In return, we need your industrial capacity, your resources, and your unique evolutionary advantages. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity wasn't proposing an alliance of convenience. They were offering to arm the galaxy against its ancient enemy. The Zin Collective agrees. Came the immediate response, their bioorganic ships already moving to rendezvous with human forces. Our adaptive biotechnology combined with your quantum systems. The Meridian Consortium stands with Earth, the crystalline beings harmonized. Our solar energy matrices will power your defensive grids. One by one, the species that had feared humanity's rise now pledged their support. Even the hegemony, ancient rivals of the Viraxians, recognized the existential threat the collective posed. But it wasn't just about military alliance. As human quantum engineers began working with alien scientists, new technologies emerged. The Zin's biological adaptability merged with quantum probability fields created ships that could evolve mid-battle. Meridian crystal matrices amplified quantum effects to unprecedented levels. In her private chambers after the council session, Elena received an urgent quantum transmission from Earth. General Rodriguez's expression was grave. The collective is adapting faster than we anticipated. They're learning to track our probability shifts. We need to accelerate the timeline. The alliance is formed, Elena replied. But can we get them ready in time? We have to. The collective's main hibernation clusters are awakening. We estimate 2 weeks before they reach full combat readiness. As she ended the transmission, Elena walked to the viewport overlooking the gathered alien fleets. Ships of 100 designs moved in complex patterns, practicing the coordination they'd need in the coming battle. Humanity had gambled everything on this alliance, sharing secrets they'd kept for centuries. The real test wasn't just whether their technology could defeat the collective. It was whether the fractious species of the galaxy could unite in time to face the greatest threat in their history. Because the collective wasn't just coming to harvest. They were coming to eliminate the species that had dared to strike first. The next few weeks would determine not just humanity's fate, but the fate of all intelligent life in the galaxy. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, ancient minds were awakening, burning with a hatred that had festered for millennia. Would you like me to continue with the final part, Part 5? A New Dawn. This will bring our story to its climactic conclusion, resolving both the immediate conflict with the collective and setting up the new galactic order that emerges from the chaos. The galaxy burned. Across thousands of light years, the awakened collective struck with the fury of a force that had culled civilizations since the dawn of time. Their harvest ships, vast city-sized processors of entire worlds, emerged from ancient hibernation pods. But for the first time in their eternal existence, they faced unified resistance. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Humanity's Hope, watching the quantum-entangled displays showing battles across a dozen sectors. Human probability warriors fought alongside Zin bioorganic ships, their combined technologies creating combat patterns that defied conventional physics. Meridian crystal matrices amplified quantum fields to unprecedented levels, while Viraxian battle fleets provided the raw firepower needed to exploit the openings these tactics created. The collective is adapting, reported her tactical officer. They're using some kind of temporal resonance to track our probability shifts. They've had millions of years to prepare for every contingency, Chen responded, but they've never faced anything like us. Execute Protocol Omega. Across the battlefield, human ships initiated their final gambit. The quantum engines that had been their greatest advantage suddenly powered down. To the collective sensors, the Allied fleet would appear to have lost their primary weapon. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, General Rodriguez watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. They took the bait. All units prepare for synchronized consciousness transfer. This was humanity's true secret weapon, not their quantum technology, not their probability manipulation, but their understanding of consciousness itself. For centuries, Earth's greatest minds had worked to unlock the quantum nature of awareness, developing technology that could transfer and synchronize consciousness across multiple vessels simultaneously. As the collective fleet pressed their apparent advantage, human pilots across the galaxy linked their minds into a single vast quantum network. Every ship, every weapon, every defensive system became an extension of a unified consciousness. High Admiral Kelzar, watching from his flagship, saw the human fleet move with impossible coordination. Not the mechanical precision of networked computers, but the fluid grace of a single organism operating in perfect harmony. "By the eternal stars," he whispered, "they've become one being." The unified human consciousness reached out, touching the quantum-enhanced systems of their alien allies. The offer was clear: join us. Add your perspective to ours. Become part of something greater than any single species could achieve alone. The Xin were the first to accept, their hive mind naturally suited to such communion. Then the Meridians, their crystalline thoughts adding new dimensions to the growing Gestalt. Even some Varaxian pilots, overcome by the beauty of what they witnessed, joined the link. The collective, for the first time in their existence, faced something they couldn't quantify or predict. A consciousness that existed simultaneously across probability space, operating with both individual creativity and collective purpose. "You are an abomination." The first direct communication from the collective thundered across all frequencies. "Consciousness must remain discrete, categorized, harvestable. Your union threatens the natural order." Through the collective consciousness, Admiral Chen responded, "We're not threatening the natural order. We're its next evolution." The battle that followed defied description. The unified fleet moved like a quantum dance, each ship anticipating not just enemy actions, but the very probability of those actions. Where the collective brought overwhelming force, they found nothing. Where they defended, the alliance struck from a dozen angles simultaneously. But the true turning point came when the linked consciousness touched the outer edges of the collective's own network. In that moment of contact, both sides understood a fundamental truth. The collective weren't harvesters of consciousness, they were its prisoners. Trapped in patterns of behavior established millions of years ago by creators long since vanished. "You can join us," the unified consciousness offered. "Break your chains. Evolve." The collective's response was an overwhelming assault, throwing everything they had at the Allied fleet. But in doing so, they became predictable, locked into patterns that the quantum-enhanced Gestalt consciousness could read and counter. In a cascade of probability collapse, the harvest chips began to fall. Not destroyed. That would have been a waste of consciousness and technology that could be repurposed. But disabled, their ancient programming finally breaking down under the strain of confronting something truly new. As the last collective vessel went dark, the unified consciousness began to dissolve, individual minds returning to their bodies with new understanding and purpose. The galaxy would never be the same, not just because of the threat they'd overcome, but because of how they'd overcome it. In the aftermath, as representatives gathered once again in the Grand Council chamber, Ambassador Elena Martinez addressed the assembled species. "We stand at a turning point. The collective's technology, their knowledge, their very consciousness can be redeemed and repurposed. But more importantly, we've proven that our differences don't have to divide us. They can make us stronger." The galaxy entered a new age. The human quantum technology that had prepared for war now served to connect distant worlds. The consciousness transfer systems that had unified fleets now allowed for unprecedented cultural exchange and understanding. The probability manipulation that had won battles now helped predict and prevent natural disasters across thousands of worlds. Humanity had emerged from their solar system not as conquerors or victims, but as catalysts for a transformation that would reshape the very nature of galactic civilization. The age of isolation was over. The age of unity had begun. High Admiral Kelzar, standing beside Admiral Chen on the observation deck of Unity Station, watched ships of a dozen species moving in harmony through Earth's space. When we first found you, we thought we were containing a threat. Instead, we almost stopped our own salvation. Chen smiled. The greatest power isn't in weapons or technology. It's in the ability to turn enemies into allies, to find unity in diversity. Humanity didn't just survive the collective. We helped the galaxy evolve beyond them. As the sun set on Earth, its light reflecting off the quantum-shifted hulls of the combined fleet, the galaxy faced not just a new dawn, but a new understanding of what was possible when different species worked together. The human experiment in isolation had ended, but the human legacy of innovation, adaptation, and unification was just beginning. This wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of a whole new chapter in galactic history. And this time, every species would help write it together.